Hi, my name is Dave Eling. I'm the Director of the Muskegon County Department of Veterans Affairs, and we're here today to announce a new program in conjunction with DSE television. I'm very excited about it because what we're going to try to do is bring information to the veterans and their families in our community, and we're going to maybe call this the Veterans Did You Know? And the intent of this program is to provide the information that veterans and their families don't know, are asking, or don't know where to go. We have a large veterans population in this community, in the West Michigan area. There's over 100,000 veterans, 17,000 right here in Muskegon County alone. And they're coming home every day from the wars we're having in Afghanistan and Iraq. And many veterans are coming back with problems, war-related, and they don't know where to go and where to seek the help. And oftentimes it's a family member who brings that veteran in. And so it's important that if you're not a veteran, if you're a family member of a vet or you know a vet, this information that we're going to provide to you is going to be very beneficial. So I hope you'll stay tuned and listen and help with us in the program by providing questions and comments on what you're hearing and what you'd like to hear from us. My background is I'm retired from the United States Air Force. I spent 20 years as a medic. And for the last 22 years, I've been working with veterans programs to help veterans access the help that they need. Here in Muskegon, we built the Veterans Service Center. We established a County Department of Veterans Affairs, and today, where we're sitting right here today, we have all the services in place to assist the veterans if they came to us with the clothes on their back. We can house them, feed them, on-site medical, help them apply for their benefits for the VA. We have a food bank, and all the other needs that they have. So we're very fortunate, and we've worked very hard in this community to pull this, everything in place that we have here today. And so we're just happy to share that with the audience. Probably one of the biggest questions we get is, am I a veteran? Many vets themselves are in a misconception of what their veteran status is. I've had a lot of veterans who come in and say, you know, I didn't fight in a war, I didn't go overseas, so I guess I'm really not a veteran. A veteran is anybody who served in the armed forces of the United States and was honorably discharged with at least 180 days of active duty. You're a veteran. You have benefits coming to you. The government said when you raised your hand or were you drafted, that should you become injured as a result of your service, the government will compensate you for that injury and treat you for the rest of your life free of charge. The other portion of that was because you did serve your country, that should you require medical care at any time in your life and you cannot afford it, the VA will provide it for you. So those are two little things that you got, and we like to call that as the VA's workman's comp. So moms, if you send your child off to the service and they get injured, what's going to happen to them? The VA is going to take care of them. They're going to provide the medical care and the financial compensation should they become injured. We hope that they don't, but you know, when you're in that line of work, oftentimes it does happen. Some of the topic areas that we want to touch on today and that we're going to cover and down the road as we do other programs, probably one of the biggest is medical help. What do I do for medical care? In this economy, where many individuals have lost their jobs, and with that job went their health care, now they're concerned about what happens to me, how am I going to get my health care? And if you forget about that, if they're a veteran, the VA can take care of that for them. So that's the first thing we want to make everybody understand is what health care benefits are out there, how do I access them, and am I eligible for them or not? Another program that we want to address is the Iraqi vets and Afghan vets coming home, some of the conditions that are facing them. Much like the Vietnam vet with the post-traumatic stress disorder, the PTSD, you've probably heard much about that. It's a mental health issue that the veterans have. In the olden days, you used to call it shell shock or battle fatigue. And after Vietnam, they finally got a handle on it and gave it this technical term of PTSD. And after many years of research and dealing with the Vietnam vets, we know what it is, we know how to treat it, and it can be treated, and you can learn to function and live with that. With the Iraqi vets coming home, they figure that 1 out of 3 are presenting post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's something, post-traumatic stress is if you were involved in something life-threatening or an incident that dramatically changed your life, and watching the vehicle getting blown up, or seeing somebody injured, or seeing just the melee that comes with war, you've got some problems. And how you deal with that as an individual defines what kind of mental health you're in. And unfortunately, many veterans will not come in simply because that stigma of it's a mental health issue. I'm not quite right in the head, I got these problems, and I'm a soldier, I should be able to handle this. Well, you can't. You can't do it by yourself. And most of the time when we get the soldiers in here with post-traumatic stress, it's a family member will bring them in, a spouse, a clergy, or a friend, because you always have heard that term when somebody comes back from war, they're just never the same. Well, you can't take an 18, 19, or 20-year-old kid from Muskegon, Michigan, place them in a war zone for a year, and then send them back home and say, go ahead and be normal, and expect them to be so. There's problems that come along with that. There's a lot of baggage comes along with that, and it's a very difficult situation. Some terrible statistics is now 92% of all Vietnam vets that were in country, combat vets, are on subsequent marriages. That means it's very rare to find a veteran from Vietnam who's married to the same individual they were married to before they went over there. And with that comes the understanding of the spouse, how they're affected by this, and how this affects the children, in multiples, on and on and on. So it's a community problem. It affects everybody's life, and it's something that needs to be addressed. Another issue we want to look at with the Iraqi vets returning is the TBIs. You've heard a lot about that also. It's traumatic brain injury. It's these veterans that have been exposed to these IEDs, improvised explosive devices that explode, and this tremendous shock wave is sent through their body. And your body can cope with it to a certain extent, but your brain can't really have much room to move. And so when that shock wave goes through you, damage is done. And what they're finding with the TBI injuries are a lot of bad side effects, is early onsets of Alzheimer's, dementia, Lou Gehrig's disease, on and on and on. There's a lot of things there. And that's something else that they need to get in and get treated, get diagnosed with before something happens with them. Unfortunately, we see a lot of veterans that end up coming to our doorstep because they get home from a war zone. They've been on endorphins for a year because they're jazzed, because anytime you walk out of your building or into a vehicle, you're potentially to be blown up. So you're always on high alert. And then you come back to Muskegon, Michigan, and all of a sudden it's calm and peaceful, and it takes you about 30 minutes to get caught up on what you lost. But you're still looking for that adrenaline rush. So you see a lot of these veterans will come back and they'll be fast sports cars, or they'll go skydiving or get motorcycles. They have to find something that gives them that adrenaline high that they had from just being terrorized for the whole year that they were over there. And that leads to problems. And oftentimes it's the police or the laws or the court systems will get involved with the vet that got into trouble because they did something stupid. But was it really their fault, or were they suffering from post-traumatic stress, or do they have a traumatic brain injury? So we look at assisting the veterans in that line also. We have veterans come back and looking for jobs. In this economy, it pretty well sucks. There aren't very many jobs out here right now. And so, but we do have an employment and training individual that'll help them put a resume together, and we help you get on the internet and get registered with the employers. There are many veteran employers out here who will only deal with veterans, and so oftentimes we get calls from an employer that says, send me 2 or 3 vets to look at. You won't see this list anyplace else or hear this information other than coming out of here. So it's important if they come back to get registered and make sure they're in the system, and we can assist with that also. Then probably the next biggest one is, how do I file a claim? I have a disability, or I think there's something wrong with me. How am I going to go through this mountain of paperwork that the VA throws at you? Well, we have service officers here, and that's what their job is, to take all the information from you, put it in the form of a claim, and submit that claim. And then, of course, there's a waiting game. But what's critical is you get that claim filed, because the date that you sign that documentation and send it in, that's your start date. And if it takes the government 5 or 6 or 7 months to get that adjudicated, you're paid retro back to that date that you signed. So it's important to get an early start date, get it online, get it set in and submitted. And you can always go back and appeal it, whatever the rating happens to be, or and ask for an increase if we don't think it's enough. But the bottom line is get the disability established and get it on the record. Some of the other programs we have is we have a homeless program. We've kept 6 apartments upstairs here. We're in what used to be old Jewel Dorm in Baker College, and that's, by the way, that's where we're located. The Veterans Service Center is 165 East Apple. We're down here in the corner of Apple and Pine, where Baker College used to be. We're in the old Jewel Dorm, and on the 2nd floor is all our administrative offices, our food bank, and the VA clinic. On the 3rd floor, we kept our homeless program. We have 6 apartments up there for homeless veterans and their families. And so again, if you're homeless, whatever situation, we can help you get back into stable housing and get you looking for a job or a source of incomes and get you back on your feet. It's a pretty sad commentary that at any given night in the United States, over 250,000 veterans are homeless. How sad is that? Just a few months ago or weeks ago, they were fighting for their country and defending the way of life that we have. They come back home and there are no jobs, and they and their family end up becoming homeless. It's pretty sad. So nobody in this country should be homeless or go hungry, but especially not a veteran who just came back from risking their life for our way of life. So these are some of the things that we addressed and we're going to address. For first time ever, we've had a huge population of female veterans, combat veterans. We've never had this before. And we're having female veterans come back with post-traumatic stress. Another area that's never been addressed. It's wide open. We don't know what to expect or what to do, but we're on the forefront of putting female veterans programs together. The VA is. They have special programs. They have special treatment. They have counselors just to deal with the females issue. And we've never addressed that, but we're addressing it now.